Welcome back to MADMAN Review. Are you a 1911 fanboy like yours truly? Do you think you know everything about this pistol? Well, before I did the research for this video, I thought I did, but boy was I wrong. In this video, we'll dive into 13 things about the 1911 that you probably don't know. Just as a quick reminder, if you find these types of videos entertaining, please like, share, and subscribe. Number 13, you can detail strip a 1911 with no tools required. When Browning came up with the 1911, he made sure you could take the whole thing apart using the gun's own parts as the only tools. A video by rangehot.com shows how it can be done. We'll leave the link below if you want to take a look at it. Number 12, the 1911 comes in many different sizes. The big one with a 5-inch barrel is called the government model, while the slightly smaller version with a 4¼ inch barrel is known as the commander model. Now, way back before the subcompact pistols were a thing, they had the 1911 subcompact, often called the officer model, with a 3-inch barrel. But guess what? More recently, a handful of gun makers came up with pocket-sized versions that are even tinier than the officer model. Some of these pocket-sized 1911s include the SIG P228, the Kimber Micro, the Springfield 911, and the Colt Mustang. Number 11. The majority of today's 1911s are in 9mm. This wasn't the case just 10 years ago. High-capacity variants are often referred to as 2011s, a copyrighted term from Staccato for their redesigned 1911 with high-capacity magazines. This year, there's another name for them, 2311s. You can check out Oracle Arms and Gerson's website for more info. It's a bit sad that you don't see many 1911s in their original 45 ACP chambering anymore, but it does solve one of the 1911's main issues, limited ammo capacity. Plus, when you consider that modern 9mm defensive rounds perform a lot better than standard 45 ACP ball ammo, it does make sense. While most 1911s these days are in 9mm, you can still find a few factory models in 10mm. But again, just a decade ago, that wasn't the case. Back then, you could find a bunch of 1911s in other calibers like 38 Super, the dying 40 Smith & Wesson, and of course, the default 45 ACP. Number 10. 1911 pistols come in other chamberings. There are some other interesting chamberings too, like the 50 GI. You can check out Guncrafter Industries Model 4 if you're interested. Rock Island Armory also offers 4 different 1911 style pistols in 380 ACP, 22 long rifle, 22 Magnum, and their proprietary 22 TCM cartridge, which is roughly on par with the 5.7x28 cartridge. Maybe just a tad bit less powerful, but it holds the title for the fastest velocity, even surpassing the 7.5 FK Bruno cartridge. It is quite the speed demon. Number 9, the 1911 can rival 44 Magnum revolvers. One of the most powerful semi-automatic handguns you can find off the shelf is a 1911 long slide. If you're curious, head over to 460rollin.com and check out their Kimber stainless target LS, priced at just $1,895.90. This pre-built long slide 1911 can handle both 45 ACP and 460 Rollin, and theoretically, it should also work with 45 Super as well. But don't quote me on that. Maybe call them first to double check. Now, if you've never come across the 460 Rollin, it's a Wildcat cartridge that's been quietly gaining popularity since 1997. Why, you may ask? Well, it significantly improves the 1911 pistol platform, turning it into a viable option for handgun hunting. Your standard 230 grain 45 autoball round, fired from a 6-inch 1911 long slide barrel, travels at a velocity of just 923 feet per second, generating only 435 foot-pounds of force at the muzzle. In contrast, Buffalo Bore's 460 roll-in load that uses a 255 grain hard cast flat nose, when fired from the pre-built Kimber stainless target LS in 460 roll-in, easily hits 1,320 feet per second, generating a whopping 987 foot-pounds of force at the muzzle. That's on par with, and in some cases, even surpasses the ballistics of some factory .44 Magnum rounds fired from a 6-inch barrel revolver. Quite a powerhouse for a semi-auto pistol, don't you think? Number 8. Drop-in parts for handguns started with the 1911. The idea of drop-in parts that we often see in modern firearm designs actually dates back to before World War II. At that time, the U.S. government recognized that war in Europe was becoming inevitable. There would be a pressing need for pistols in large quantities and in a short time frame. To meet this demand, Colt's engineers were tasked with overhauling the dimensions and tolerances of the pistol, ensuring complete interchangeability of parts, regardless of the manufacturer. They also developed a set of standard gauges to check nearly every part of the gun, using a go or no-go approach. Here's the interesting part. It worked like a charm. To test the concept, they selected 2 pistols from each contractor, mixed up the parts in a big bin, and then reassembled 10 pistols without caring which part came from which gun. These assembled firearms were then meticulously checked for headspace, overall fit, and subjected to test firing. These pistols had to meet strict function and accuracy requirements, and when they passed with flying colors, the drop-in part concept was born. Number 7, the 1911 is still used in the military today. I mentioned earlier that Marine Special Operation Units still use it, but it's not just them. You'll find many soldiers in various branches of special operations using it too. A lot of these operators have the freedom to pick their own sidearm, even if they're given something like a Glock or SIG. So it's not uncommon to see the trusted 1911 in the hands of operators from units like the Delta Force, Navy SEALs, Force Recon, etc. Number 6. The 1911 still has the best trigger of any pistol in the market to this day. The 1911's trigger is known for being short and crisp. Unlike many modern pistol designs, the 1911 features a single-action trigger that only has one job: release the hammer. In contrast, other pistols often have triggers that perform multiple functions, such as cocking the firing pin system, releasing firing pin safeties, or disengaging the trigger safety. Which sets the 1911 trigger apart is its unique design. It slides backward in a linear pull instead of using a fulcrum trigger, which is common in most striker-fired pistols like Glocks and M&Ps. This design choice results in the most consistent and user-friendly trigger pull you can find on the market. Number 5, the 1911 has many different monikers. While most folks in the United States simply refer to it as the 1911, this iconic pistol has gathered a slew of nicknames from around the world. Some folks call it the Army Automatic, Colt 45, Old Slabsides, Old Big Mouth, the Yankee Fist, the Big Colt, etc. Fascinating, right? Number 4. The 1911 is the most copied pistol design in the world. Many CZ75 fans would beg to differ, but among folks who really know guns, the CZ75 is just a runner-up when it comes to widely imitated handguns. There are countless companies in America churning out their own versions of the 1911. You've got the top dollar ones like Wilson Combat, SVI, Nighthawk, as well as more budget-friendly options like Ruger. And all around the world, you've got 1911s from Rock Island Armory, Taurus, Gerson, Tisas, Tanfoglio, etc. Number 3, the 1911 is the official firearm of Utah. Back in March 2011, Utah made the M1911 pistol its official state firearm. And the reason behind it was pretty straightforward. You see, John Browning, the brains behind the 1911, hailed from Ogden, Utah. The move to adopt it was championed by Republican Utah State Representative Carl Wimmer, who saw it as a way to honor both Utah's and America's history. He said it captures a portion of Utah's history, and even bigger than that, it captures a portion of American history. But not everyone was on board with this decision. Anti-gun libtards say it's a divisive symbol, so yeah, whatever. Number 2, Corporal Alvin C. York was carrying a 1911. On September 8, 1918, during the closing stages of World War I, Corporal Alvin C. York pulled off a remarkable feat. He single-handedly took out 25 German soldiers and captured 132, earning him the prestigious Medal of Honor. This heroic act unfolded as part of the Meuse-Argonne offensive in France, a critical campaign aimed at breaking the Hindenburg Line and forcing the Germans to surrender. In recognition of his bravery, York also received decorations from several Allied countries, including France, Italy, and Montenegro. Shortly after his promotion to corporal, York was part of a group of 17 soldiers tasked with infiltrating German lines and neutralizing a machine gun position. During the mission, the American patrol managed to capture a significant number of enemy soldiers, but unfortunately, they came under heavy fire, resulting in the deaths of 6 Americans and the injury of 3 others. With the situation dire, York, as the highest-ranking survivor, took command. While his comrades guarded the prisoners, he launched a daring attack on the enemy machine gun position, using his rifle to eliminate several German soldiers before running out of ammunition. Undeterred, 6 German soldiers charged at him with bayonets, but York managed to take them all down with nothing but, you guessed it, his standard issue M1911. The German officer in charge of the machine gun position had emptied his pistol while firing at York, but failed to hit him. Recognizing the dire circumstances, this officer surrendered and York accepted his surrender. With more than 130 prisoners in tow, York and his men made their way back to their unit's command post. His extraordinary actions led to an immediate promotion to sergeant and the award of the Distinguished Service Cross. Later, after an investigation, his award was upgraded to the Medal of Honor. Number 1, the 45 ACP, what started it all. During the Philippine-American War in 1899, American units were dealing with some tough conditions while fighting Tasu guerrillas in the jungles of Sulu. They were armed with a Colt M1892 revolver chambered in .38 long Colt, but turned out to be less than ideal for jungle warfare. One of the main problems was its stopping power, which wasn't sufficient against the formidable Moro Juramontados, the persistent and resilient enemy they faced. These Moro fighters were known for their high battle morale and often used drugs to numb pain. The .38 long Colt just wasn't cutting it, and it resulted in unnecessary casualties in the U.S. forces. In some cases, a Moro Juramontado could take 6 shots to the chest and still manage to slash the neck of the soldier who shot him. So the U.S. military needed something better to replace their Colt Model 1892 New Army revolvers. General William Crozier, the chief of ordnance, recognized the need for a new service pistol and authorized testing for one. This is where the legendary John Moses Browning enters the scene. In 1904, he designed the 45 ACP cartridge, specifically to help the U.S. military deal with the Moro Juramontados. The 45 ACP cartridge called for a .451-inch diameter projectile, weighing 200 grains, and it was intended to be used with Browning's semi-automatic handgun, later known as the Model 1905. This cartridge had enough power to propel the bullet at speeds of around 900 feet per second, which made it a game changer. The quest for a new service pistol led to trials in 1906 involving designs from 6 firearms manufacturers, among them Colt, Savage, and Deutsche Waffen- und Munitionsfabrikant, also known as DWM, presented designs chambered in the 45 ACP cartridge. After several rounds of testing and improvements, Colt emerged as the winner, passing a rigorous endurance test where it fired 6,000 rounds over 2 days without malfunctioning, proving its mettle in the field. The rest, as they say, is history.